Hello everyone, we are from group 4. We will discuss about assessing rating, and the group members are ANISA, RAHMA, HIDAYAH, ALYA, RAHMA, MOEDJIYANTI, HELDA, MUSTIKA, CANDRAWATI, and me, Muhammad Fikri, Yazid, and the last is SATRIO, YUDO, UTOMO. Okay guys, as the first speaker, I would like to explain the first thing in assessing writing is genre of writing language. Classification scheme is reformulated here to include the most common genre that a second language writer might produce within and beyond the requirements of a curriculum. The first is academic rating. And for example of this writing is like thesis and dissertation. And the second is job related writing. For the example of this writing is project reports and announcements. And the third is personal writing. The example of this writing is text messages, tweets, emails, letters, greeting cards. And the next part I would like to explain is about types of writing performance. The first is imitate. To produce writing language, learners must master basic skills. Basic tasks of writing letters, words, punctuation marks, and short sentences. The second is intensive. Beyond the basics of imitative writing are skills in generating vocabulary that fits within context, collocation, and idioms, and grammatically correct features throughout sentences. And the third is responsive. Here the assessment task requires students to perform at a limited level of discourse, linking sentences into paragraphs, and making logically connected sequence of 2 or 3 paragraphs, or better known as liaisons between paragraphs. And the fourth is broad. Extensive writing implies the successful management of all writing process and strategies for all purposes, right down to the length of an essay, paper, report on a major research, or even a thesis. The author focuses on achieving goals, organizing and developing ideas a logical manner. And the third, writing macros and micro skills. Previously, micro skills were more appropriate for mimicking and intensive types of writing. Assignments, whereas macro skills were essential for successful mastery of extensive and responsive writing. The example of micro skills, this is a few examples. The first is produce English orthographic charts and patterns, and the second is produce writing at an efficient speed in accordance with the objective test. And the third is generate an acceptable core word and use an appropriate word order pattern. And about the macro skills, for the example of macro skills, the first is use rhetorical forms and written discourse conventions, and the second is complete the communicative function of the written text according to its form and purposes. And the third is distinguish between literal and implied meanings when writing. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Designing assessment task imitative writing. A few of the more common types are: first, copying is about directing a test taker to copy letters or words. The test taker will see something like in the screen. Second, listening close selection task is to combine dictation with written scripts with a relatively high deletion rate. The test sheet provides a list of missing words from which you can find candidates must choose. Third, picture cued task. Show familiar pictures, and then the test taker was told to write the word represented by the picture. Fourth, form completion task. It is about filling out such forms. 5. Converting numbers and abbreviations to words. Test takers are directed to write out the numbers, hours of the day, dates or schedules shown. Spelling task and detecting phoneme grapheme correspondences. First spelling test. The teacher dictates a simple sentence and repeats the sentence. Then pauses for test takers to write the words. Scoring emphasizes correct spelling. Second, picture cue task. Pictures are displayed with the objective of focusing on familiar words whose spelling may be unpredictable. Third, multiple choice technique. Presenting words and phrases in the form of multiple choice tests. They can serve as formative reinforcement of spelling convention. Fourth, matching phonetic symbol. This works best with letters that do not have one-to-one correspondence with the phonetic symbol. Designing assessment task. Intensive controlled writing. First, dictation and dictocomp. Dictation is simply the rendition in writing of what one hears orally, so it could be classified as an imitative type of writing, especially because a portion of the test taker's performance centers on correct spelling. A form of controlled writing related to dictation is a dictocomp. Here, a paragraph is read at normal speed, usually 2 or 3 times. Then the teacher asks students to rewrite the paragraph from the best of their recollection. Second, grammatical transformation. Task. Numerous versions of the task are possible. Change the tenses in a paragraph, change full forms of verbs to reduce forms, change statements to yes or no question, change questions into statements. Third, picture cue task. The main advantage in this technique is in detecting the almost ubiquitous reading and writing connection and offering instead of non-verbal means to stimulate written responses. Fourth, short sentences, like in the screen. 5. Picture description. Test takers are asked to describe the picture using 4 of the following prepositions, as long as the prepositions are used appropriately. The criterion is considered to be met. 6. Picture sequence description. A sequence of 3 to 6 pictures depicting a storyline can provide a suitable stimulus for written production. The picture must be simple and unambiguous. If your criteria in this task are both lexical and grammatical choices, then you need to design a writing scale to account for variation between completely right and completely wrong in both categories, like in the screen. Vocabulary assessment task. The major techniques used to assess vocabulary are defining and using words in sentences.
So next is ordering task. Although this somewhat inauthentic task generates writing performance and may be said to tap into grammatical word ordering rules, it presents a challenge to test takers whose learning styles do not dispose them to logical mathematical problem solving. Some justifications for it emerge if sentences are kept very simple, such as in item 2, with perhaps no more than 4 or 5 words. Only one possible sentence can emerge. Students have practiced the technique in class, as in so many writing techniques. However, this task involves as much, if not more, reading performance as it does writing performance. So next is short answer and sentence completion tags. The reading-writing connection is apparent in the first 3 item types but has less of an effect in the last 3, where reading is necessary to understand the directions but is not crucial in creating sentences. Next is issues in assessing responsive and extensive writing. Responsive writing creates the opportunity for test takers to offer an array of possible creative responses within a pedagogical or an assessment framework. Test takers are responding to a prompt or assignment. The genres of text typically addressed here include short reports with structured formats and conventions, responses to the reading of an article or story, summaries of articles or stories, brief narratives or descriptions, and the last interpretations of graphs, tables, and charts. Both responsive and extensive writing tasks are the subjects of some classic, widely debated assessment issues that take on distinctly different flavor from those at the lower end productions of writing. First is authenticity. If test takers are being asked to perform a task, its face and content validity need to be ensured in order to bring out the best in the writer. Second is scoring. Scoring is the thorniest issues at this final two stages of writing. With so many options are available to a learner, each evaluation by a test administrator needs to be finely attuned, not just the form but the functions of the text. Third one is time. It is the only skill in which the language producer is not necessarily constrained by time, which implies the freedom to process multiple drafts before the text becomes a finished product. Thanks.
I'm going to explain about extensive and responsive writings. So responsive writing is when the writer is more focused on the discourse convention that will achieve the objective of the written text. For example, it's like a brief narrative text, a description, a lab report, summaries, and etc. The next one is extensive, which the writer will focus on the achievement of the purpose. For example, it's like an essay, a term paper, a thesis, and etc. The next one is paraphrasing. So the goal of this is to make sure that the learners know the importance of paraphrasing. And we should know that paraphrasing is also often in a part of informal and formative assessment. The next one is guided question and answer, which is a test format which contain a series of questions that have an outline of the emergent written text. And the outline will help to guide the learners to develop their logical ideas that have been forethought. Okay, the next one is paragraph construction tasks, which have three different forms. The first one is topic sentence writings, which is stating of a topic through the lead of a sentence or subsequent. You could see from the following table that the effectiveness of a topic sentence consists of few things. The next one is topic development within a paragraph, which is a paragraph is intended to provide readers with the connected thoughts of ideas. And there are four criteria that you could see from the table below to assess the paragraph. The next one to develop of a main and supporting idea across the paragraph means that articulate the writing main idea with clearly state and supporting idea. And there are 5 elements in evaluating a paragraph, he say, from the table below. The next one is the strategic option. The first one is attending to task, which is a task that has been defined by the teachers, and the writer must fulfill the criterion of the task. And these tasks taught below are needed to achieve the writer's purposes. The next one is attending to genre, means that the writer needs to provide some sense of the many varieties of a text that may be produced in writing. And here are the example of writing genre comparison. Okay, the next one is the standardized test of responsive writing. And the example is just like a TOEFL, PTA, IELTS. And this kind of text have a time limit and scored with the rating scale. And this is the sample of the PTA test you could see from the pictures. And there's a scoring guide for the essay. And we should know that the standardized test is a perfect measure for competence. And the standardized test is not only can be applied to students, they can be applied to those who test taker who fulfill the following criteria in the table below.
Here I want to explain about scoring method for responsive and extensive writing. The first one is holistic scoring. Holistic scoring is a single mark assigned to an article that is a general activity for a reader. A systematic collection of descriptor is provided at each point on a holistic scale, and the reader evaluator correspond with the descriptor in order to achieve a ranking. There are 6 contextual points, and a portion of the scorer has to be evaluated. These are the advantages of holistic scoring. These are the disadvantages for holistic scoring. The second one is analytical scoring. Analytical scoring focus on the main role of the text and thus provide a certain input possibility but little to do with to improve its overall complementary in writing output. The following argument has been assigned to 5 slightly different categories. The last one is primary trait scoring. This type of scoring emphasizes the task at hand and assign a score based on the effectiveness of the text achieving that one goal. Primary trait score assess accuracy of the account of the original summary, clarity of the step of the procedure and the final result or lab report, description of the main feature of the graph or graph description, and the last one is expression of the writer opinion, response to an article. Assessing the initial stages of the process of composing. These instructions are generic for themselves, couples, and students. Depending on the student, the relevance and purpose of the response of the assessor, the list should be updated. There are 7 stages in initial stage in composing. Assessing later stage of the process of composing. The concentrate is on finishing the sentences with the goal of final revision before the writer has agreed and made his purpose clear and has written at least one or even two drafts. Amendments and comments believe that the character of these guidelines is very different. There are 6 assessments of later stage in composing.